The pictures on this video were taken by me, Claude Barnett, at Barry Scrapyard from 1971 to 1981. As a young teenager, I had just begun train spotting in the lunch hour when I was at Newport High School. A friend informed me that there was this scrapyard at Barry with hundreds of steam locos in it, and you could go there and look around. I could hardly believe it. Surely scrapyards were places where things were, well, scrapped, not left standing around so many years after the end of steam. And even if this were so, you couldn't just go and look around. Scrapyards had high fences and fierce guard dogs, didn't they? Anyway, my friend assured me we could walk around the scrapyard with no problem. Indeed, he had done so. So one autumnal Sunday afternoon in 1971, I went to Barry Scrapyard with my friend Robert Noakes for the first time. Imagine the excitement as we approached Barry on the train as the first steam engines became visible just past Barry Dock Station, on some sidings, across a freight yard, next to the main line. Then the arrival into Barry Town Station and the sight of the main block of hundreds of steam locos on the site between the town and Barry Island. For someone who had just missed the steam era, this was brilliant. We spent the day walking around, in amongst and clambering over all those steam engines. We wrote down all the numbers and counted 204 steam locos and 2 diesels. We photographed till we ran out of film and ate our lunch in the loco of our choice. Mine was a King, Rob's a Merchant Navy class. There was just a little sadness in all this. All those once proud locos just sat there, unwanted, mouldering away in the sea air. But no, there was hope. Many were marked for preservation, with enthusiast groups working away to get some paint on to protect their loco prior to final purchase and removal. Also, where else could you get so close to so many different kinds of steam locomotive? Over the next 10 years, I paid many visits to Barry Scrapyard. Later, with the Plymouth Polytechnic Railway Club, having written to Woodham Brothers for permission. They always gave it with a take no bits stipulation, which we were always happy to comply with. Generally, when we visited, it was raining, and we sheltered in a tank loco for preference. You begin to appreciate just how exposed a footplate can be. On one occasion, a load of brake vans were in for scrap, and we sheltered in those. The best shelter we ever used. My early pictures are mainly black and white, as I was into doing my own processing at the time, and the funds from my paper round wouldn't stretch to colour slide as well. At the end of each visit, I would put the camera on a tripod, get everyone on a loco, set the delay, and run to get in the picture before the shutter went off. The perfect end to a Barry Scrapyard visit. With these pictures, I have sought to capture something of what it was like to be a young teenage railway enthusiast with this fantastic resource on the doorstep. If you have appreciated the pleasure, joy, excitement and sheer fun of a visit to Barry Scrapyard, I will have succeeded. The railway songs accompanying the pictures are by my friend Dave Goulder, an ex-fireman from Nottinghamshire, whose vivid memories of the steam era are reflected in his songs, as is his historical interest. I'd like to dedicate this video to the memory of the late Di Woodham, whose patience and vision have given us this wonderful legacy of steam engines, which otherwise would have just disappeared. And the last time I went to Barry, all the locos had long since gone, and all the tracks had gone too.
The Flying Scotsman Edinburgh train departs from platform 8 at 1000 hours. This train conveys a restaurant car and miniature buffet.
Oh, did you hear the story of the company's pursuit of glory? They raced from London town to Aberdeen. Indeed, to win it, they pushed their engines to the limit. These were the olden days, the golden days of steam. Indeed, to win it, they pushed their engines to the limit. These were the olden days, the golden days of steam. In old Euston Station they revelled in the situation. They had to beat their time from Crewe to Carlisle. They would pursue it, they had the drivers who could do it. The western route would be the finest in the Isles. They would pursue it, they had the drivers who could do it. The western route would be the finest in the Isles. They took her to the limit and averaged a mile a minute on the journey from Carlisle to Perth. The drum and steam in the fireman working like a demon, or for to pass the signals at Kinnaber first. The drum and steam in the fireman working like a demon, or for to pass the signals at Kinnaber first. The eastern men did battle by breaking records to Newcastle. The poor passengers more dead than alive. Each driver's order was beat the other to the border. It was the summertime of 1895. Each driver's order was beat the other to the border. It was the summertime of 1895. They passed through Portobello, the timekeepers were turning yellow. The engine took the Benz at 83. And at the station they sat and fretted with frustration till they were all the bridge and making for Dundee. And at the station they sat and fretted with frustration till they were all the bridge and making for Dundee. With all signals clear, past Kinnaber with time to spare, into Aberdeen triumphant and sore. Hell and damnation, the western train was in the station. She'd been there a quarter hour or more. Hell and damnation, the western train was in the station. She'd been there a quarter hour or more. Well, did you hear the story of the company's pursuit of glory? They raced from London town to Aberdeen. Indeed, to win it, they pushed their engines to the limit. These were the olden days, the golden days of steam. Have you noticed how relations within the working population exercise a fascination for observers of the situation? Here for your appreciation, examples from a railway station. Consider George the humble porter, he loved the station master's daughter. Once with someone else he caught her, vowed he'd slice them into quarters, but had no stomach for the slaughter. He vandalized the book he'd bought her. Observe the brash and busty Brenda, the lady season ticket vendor, paragon of female gender, coarse remarks could not offend her. Travelling men could but surrender to the girl's unbridled splendor. Departed now as hateful Hector, the Weasley ticket stub collector, tried each journey to reject your ticket home for some defect or minor flaw. This devil's rector became an income tax inspector. And see the stately Angasina, the Hebridean station cleaner, like some Gallic-speaking queen, her stare aloud, no misdemeanor. She carried off to Gretna Green a randy cook from Argentina. Gordon Grief, the station master, he was wedded to his ghetto blaster, walked as if encased in plaster, found each day some new disaster to drive the pulse a little faster. He died a drunkard in Doncaster. So the staff of one small station, committed to obliteration, when elected masters of the nation decide on rationalization, they pensioned off a generation, replaced them all with automation. 1910, Christmas Eve at Horse Junction. Lights of a passenger train through curtains of wind-driven rain, setting the scene for destruction. Light engines waiting to go, two to Carlisle returning, two others making for Leeds, and a goods train passing at speed, and a one on the table for turning. Well, the northbound passenger's late. The signalman gives her the main line, forgetting the Carlisle men who consider the green is for them, set off for home on the same line. Onlookers routed to Clay, a sound holds every attention. Out of the stormy darkness, the London to Glasgow Express, pursuing the Carlisle engines. Hurtling on to Aysgill, the Moorcock tunnel astride her, she bursts out into the night, and straight ahead is the light, slow-moving engines to guide her. A horrified driver looks round to the night train rushing upon them. His whistle hangs on the air like the anguished cry of despair, torn from the man who condemned them. Steel hammers hard into steel, carriages crumple to splinters, gas spills onto the flames, and fire takes over the train, travellers strewn among cinders. 1910, Christmas Eve at Horse Junction. Lights of a passenger train through curtains of wind-driven rain, setting the scene for destruction. The winter winds are blowing, the devil's teeth are showing. I'm freezing to death with every breath. It's a terrible way to be going. I wish to all creation we'd never left the station. We wouldn't be here in dark despair and pitiful degradation. When we left the sheds this morning, we should have been given no warning. I'm a miserable sod, and wishing to God I'd stayed in the bed I was born in. We're out of coal and water, me time was never shorter, and here I am, an innocent lamb, off to a certain slaughter. We have no fire to cheer us, there isn't a soul who can hear us. The snow is so deep it could take a week for anyone to get near us. If only the train had been faster, if only the fury had passed her, if only the men would come, and then we'd maybe avoid a disaster. Oh, the winter winds are blowing, the devil's teeth are showing. I'm freezing to death with every breath. It's a terrible way to be going. I started as a cleaner back in 1939. I planned to spend my life just working up and down the line, devoted to the company till the driver's seat was mine. I never thought that it would be me downfall. I was working on the night shift with nothing much to do, so I sloped off out of the foreman's sight, well really wouldn't you? And I came across a number 4 just waiting for the crew, and I clambered on the footplate like a driver. I'm the man that put the engine in the chip shop. Wherever I go, me legend follows me. And as I watch the trains go by and lean upon me brush, I know I've made me mark in history. Well, she hadn't got much steam up, so I filled her up with coal, released the brake and opened up the rag to make her roll. But she wouldn't budge an inch, and when I heard the foreman call, I left her where she was and ran for cover. Well, the sun was just appearing when the foreman went his rounds. He was back inside a minute with a troubled sort of frown. He said, I've lost a number 4, have you seen one around? And I nearly filled me trousers when he asked me, 'cause I'm the man that put the engine in the chip shop. Wherever I go, me legend follows me. And as I watch the trains go by and lean upon me brush, I know I've made me mark on history. Well, me stoking was impeccable, the steam had risen fast. With the regulator open, she began to move at last, and a guard fell off his bicycle when he saw her rolling past, for he couldn't see a fireman or a driver. She took off down the main line going faster by the yard, but the signalman responded to a phone call from the guard. Put the signals all at danger, then he cursed himself so hard. There was no one on the footplate who could see them. Well, I'm the man that put the engine in the chip shop. Wherever I go, me legend follows me. And as I watch the trains go by and lean upon me brush, I know I've made me mark on history. She continued on her journey through the morning countryside, collecting sets of crossing gates, she carried them with pride, till at last they set the points to get the runaway inside, and she headed for the buffers at the station. Well, the buffers never stood a chance, she wore them like a crown. A wooden fence, a footbridge and a telegraph pole went down. Then she took to the highway and went on towards the town, but she couldn't bring herself to pass the chip shop. I'm the man that put the engine in the chip shop. Wherever I go, me legend follows me. And as I watch the trains go by and lean upon me brush, I know I've played my part in history. Well, she entered by the side door, and there she came to rest. They made her safe, and then went off to find the guilty pest. And it wasn't long before they tracked me down, and I confessed to being the man that put the engine in the chip shop. I'm the man that put the engine in the chip shop. Wherever I go, me legend follows me. And as I watch the trains go by and lean upon me brush, I know I've made me mark on history. I can close my eyes sometimes and still smell the smoke as old Fred the porter slams doors. There's a glance at the clock and a nod to the guard, and the train is in motion once more. Down the Rossendale Valley on a sultry warm day, the clanking of wheels echoes on. But it's all in my mind. When I wake up I find that the last train from Bacup has gone. I can stand in the car park remembering old tales of a station that's long since pulled down, of fly-shunted wagons that ran off the rails, ending up in the centre of town. Now the juggernauts carry what's left of the trade, with the cotton bales piled high upon. And where I worked with me mates is now a housing estate, and the last train from Royton has gone. And at 3 in the morning, when I used to sign on, I lie awake half in a dream. I'm a guard on a special that's bound for the coast, with a 460 getting up steam. We've got packages for printers and our pigeons to release, spare seats after Haywood not one. But now they jump on a plane for a fortnight in Spain. The last train to Fleetwood has gone. And at Measurement's halt, the track has been lifted. The platform is all overgrown. There's a willow and scrub where the Delft donkey ran, and the valley has claimed back its own. In the Saddleworth Hills on a crisp autumn day, a plume of smoke still lingers on. But I'm dreaming out loud, sure it's only a cloud. The last train for Dobcross has gone. Down the Rossendale Valley on a sultry warm day, the clanking of wheels echoes on. But it's all in my mind. When I wake up I find that the last train from Bacup has gone.